2014 was quite possibly the most important year in the history of crypto. January 5th, 2014, only 68 cryptocurrencies were listed. Today, there are more than 18,000. This means that in 8 years, the cryptocurrency market has grown 26,000%. And this is how it happened. The concept of digital currencies actually dates back as far as the 1970s, with the universal usage of credit cards introduced by Diners Club Incorporated. Visa would later adopt that technology into the cards that we know today. But when Bitcoin hit the scene in 2009, everything changed. What the internet did for communication, Bitcoin is doing to the world of finance. Level the playing field. A great way to enter 2014 is to go through the origins of the asset that would secure the number 2 spot on CoinMarketCap by year's end, XRP. The original code for XRP was written in 2011 by Jed McCaleb, David Schwartz, and the much less spoken about Arthur Britto. Britto's identity remains a mystery to this very day, but the three men set out with the goal of creating a more sustainable system for transferring value. At this time, the energy narrative had just entered the crypto market as well. That's important. By June of 2012, the code was complete and the XRP ledger went live. Shortly after activation, 80% of that initial XRP was gifted to a new company called OpenCoin. OpenCoin would introduce Chris Larsen as CEO, and in 2013 would be rebranded to Ripple Labs and ultimately become the Ripple we know today. Larsen would bring a much needed facelift to Ripple, allowing them to engage in the high-level partnerships that we know them for. This was primarily due to Larsen's prior work in the realm of digital finance. In 1996, he co-founded eLoan, an online mortgage lending platform. 4 years later, eLoan was valued at $1 billion. In 2006, it was Prosper, a peer-to-peer lending marketplace based in San Francisco. By the time Larsen got to Ripple, he was more than qualified to position the young company in front of all the right people. In a later edition, we will dive further into the story of how Larsen truly got involved, but we had to tell that part of the story to show you how, in the beginning, the name of the game was to do Bitcoin, but better. Charlie Lee wanted a better, more decentralized mining approach, so he created Litecoin. Jed, Arthur, and David, they wanted a better payment system without having to mine at all. Since Bitcoin's inception, many have taken the core workings of the protocol and reimagined it in a new way. In 2014, everyone was looking to dethrone the king of digital currency. For starters, Evan Duffield came across Bitcoin back in 2010 and was quickly impressed by its underlying technology. However, he was less impressed by the speed of it. This motivated him to propose his ideas on how to increase the speed output to the Bitcoin core developers. They turned him down due to the fact that his ideas would have required major changes to the original code. In response, on January 18, 2014, he created Dash, the cryptocurrency using the original code with his own additions. 8 days earlier, Jared Tate and a small team of Digibyte core developers mined their Genesis block with the goal of bringing added security and privacy to the industry. In April, Nicholas Van Saberhagen presented the privacy coin Monero. After Monero came Verge from Justin Sunarak. In an interview with Crypto Slate from 2019, he spoke on how a lot of the coins at that time were just proof-of-stake clones of Bitcoin. We also have to mention that a particular breed of canine became popular around this time too. Dogecoin made its presence known in early 2014. For that year's Olympics, the Dogecoin community established a fundraiser for the Jamaican bobsled team. That year's games was actually held in Russia of all places. Once we made it to the summer of 2014, over 200 coins had been listed on CoinMarketCap, and July would see the introduction of Stellar Lumens to the market. By December, 517 coins filled the market, and it was at this point the crypto market was starting to look a little similar to what we are familiar with today. This is a glimpse of the immense growth of the market in just 12 months. From 68 cryptocurrencies when the year started to 517 by December 31st. However, it is still a couple of questions that need to be answered here. Why this growth happened, and more importantly, how it was even possible. When it comes to how all of this innovation occurred, here is where things start to get a little strange. So far, we have established that the majority of the cryptocurrencies in the early days were created with the intention of improving on Bitcoin's code. This would imply that the most valuable component to Bitcoin is in fact its code. But who wrote the code? This is a question that has plagued the crypto space since its inception. The infamous Satoshi Nakamoto has become legendary because no one can figure out who he, she, or they are. Numerous people have proclaimed to be the figure. Even Jed McCaleb was once referred to as Satoshi in Stellar's early days. This was, of course, to bring some more attention to the product. Some say Arthur Britto had a hand in coding both Bitcoin and then XRP, citing that XRP was to become what Bitcoin couldn't. But to date, there is only one person who owns patents that cover the intricate underlying functions to Bitcoin. That man is Craig Wright. In 2015, Gizmodo and Wired magazine both ran an investigation into Wright after it was first said that he was claiming to be Nakamoto. Mere hours after these investigations were published, Australian federal agents raided his home, and from this point forward, the animosity would build. However, the animosity only stems from the fact that the majority of people do not know the difference between blockchain and Bitcoin. Even less people know about how intellectual property works also. When you come up with an idea, invention, or service, us humans have created patent, copyright, and trademark laws. This is to protect your creation in an open marketplace. Although the process can be time-consuming, it is on every company's mandatory to-do list if they wish to compete on a global scale. So, as a natural part of doing business, Wright simply filed patents to protect the assets his company was creating. No harm, no foul, right? At the time of writing, Craig Wright has 200 blockchain and smart contract related patents filed around the world under his own blockchain tech company, InChain. Now, my question to you is, was this cause for a raid on his home? I wouldn't say so, as I have seen homes raided for far worse offenses. What I can say is that this reflects a much bigger problem. You see, it's not just Craig Wright facing an uphill battle for wanting to establish ownership of his IP. Here in the United States, it's happening to Reggie Middleton, inventor of distributed finance and creator of Veritasium. What most people don't know is that before Veritasium, he originally entered the market with UltraCoin. What made UltraCoin so unique was its use of zero-trust smart contracts. In simple terms, these contracts allow you to swap value peer-to-peer. The same event occurs when you lend your crypto or borrow it, buy or trade NFTs, participate in liquidity pools, and so many other functions often associated with what we know today as DeFi. Again, much like Craig, Reggie created an intellectual property and a business around it, then took the natural course of action any business owner or inventor would take. So why, much like Craig, was he targeted by federal authorities and canceled by various media outlets? Well, This brings us to the why. In 2014, the International Monetary Fund proclaimed China to be the new economic leader of the world. This statement is only important if you know the history that China has with Bitcoin. From the very beginning, Bitcoin was massive in China. One of the earliest Bitcoin exchanges was set up there in 2011, known as BTC China. Later, Baidu, their largest search engine, started accepting BTC in 2014. Bitmain was the lead manufacturer of ASICs mining rigs. Then China all of a sudden pivoted. The end of 2013 going into 2014, we saw the shutdown of BTC China and BTC 38, two of their biggest exchanges. Then the People's Bank of China issued their first ban on Bitcoin mining transactions. They themselves never stopped mining though. This sudden change in direction actually stems from what they were developing in the background. 2014 was the first year that research and development of the digital yuan began, instantly with the intention of disrupting the dollar-dominated financial system. The PRC's research into CBDCs began in 2014 through the Digital Currency Electronic Payment Project, which studied how it could issue and circulate a potential CBDC, how this CBDC would function both domestic and internationally. It also included what technology could support this infrastructure. The one technology that they had been studying for the last 5 years? Bitcoin. I don't say that to say they are using Bitcoin's blockchain for the digital yuan. What I am pointing out is the fact that the only other example they had of a global payment system at the time would have been BTC. In 2017, the People's Bank of China established the Digital Currency Research Institute with the goal of furthering the development of their new payment system. In 2018, Deputy Governor of the PBC announced that it would centralize the ECNY and adopt a two-tier distribution model. Its stated goal was to replace all cash in circulation. The following year, the Deputy Governor of the Payment and Settlement Department of the PBC announced that all commercial banks in China would need to hold the ECNY at a 100% reserve ratio. This means that all the fiat had to be backed essentially one-to-one with this new digital currency. At the same time this was happening, China's tech giants were starting to emerge. Alibaba would have its record-breaking IPO in 2014, but this is largely due to what it had been working on leading up to this point. Alibaba is a subsidiary of the Ant Group, home to Ant Financial. Ant Financial, along with Tencent, creators of WeChat, and UnionPay, PBC's first government-backed payments network, worked hand in hand with the DCEP ever since it started. Evidence of this can be seen in one of WeChat's early attempts at digital payments. In 2014, WeChat introduced the Red Envelope, which was essentially an airdrop that gave users access to a token that unlocked bonus features within the app. This was the first test. UnionPay was established to be the equivalent of Visa and MasterCard in China. They have been in place since 2002. China became the new economic leader because they shifted their entire economy online, something they had planned to do since the year 2000. When Bitcoin came along in 2009, it was the missing piece to their puzzle. You have to keep in mind that when Bitcoin first started, it was mostly shared on message boards and forums. At the time, a social media revolution was occurring in China years before it hit the United States. So it makes sense that they would be the first to adopt a brand new internet currency. In 2020, China ran pilots in nearly every region in the Republic, and in 2022, at this year's Olympics, the digital yuan had officially entered global circulation. But again, we have to ask the question here, why?
Opening remarks and then we'll have questions. So to my immediate left here, we have Ellen MacArthur from the MacArthur Foundation, Ian Cheshire from Kingfisher PLC, the Chief Executive Officer, Feike Siebersma, Chief Executive Officer of DSM of the Netherlands. Dame Adam, would you like to start by introducing Project Mainstream in the circular economy?
I'll start by just explaining what the circular economy is, and the easiest way to define that is to look at our current global economy, which we could define as a linear economy, an economy which is fueled by taking something out of the ground, making something out of it, and ultimately that product predominantly gets thrown away. It's not designed to fit with any kind of bigger system. And when we look at some of the examples of the circular economy, we look at how you shift that system from being linear, where you take, make and dispose, to how you're able to recover materials through changing business models, but also the design of the product. It's about changing the total economy. This is an economic opportunity which we've seen is worth trillions. We've been working on the numbers for the last 3 years with McKinsey. We've brought out 2 reports here at the World Economic Forum last year and the year before, and adding them together, it's an economic opportunity worth over $1 trillion. So we're looking at Project Mainstream as being a project which can unlock some of those stalemates within the economy.
Well, alongside the initiatives coming down from the World Economic Forum, another global initiative was about to take off: ISO 20022. It was back in 2014 in Singapore, where representatives from global financial bodies, including the Eurozone, APAC, MENA, and the United States, came together to discuss the need to replace SWIFT, the current global payment messaging system. The reason for this change is to introduce faster payments that can settle in a matter of hours, no matter where 2 parties are located or the amount of the transaction. This is so a new global economy can truly take root. The only place this technology already exists is in the crypto space. That is why it has not and will not ever go anywhere. Crypto is a catalyst for the future of the world that, just like with many other innovations we humans have given ourselves, there are always partners who look to gain more than others. This brings us to the most important crypto that is not Bitcoin: Ethereum. Ethereum hit the market in 2015. Vitalik Buterin was an avid fan of Bitcoin's code, so much like other developers at the time, he was inspired to create his own. Vitalik comes from an IT background. His father, Dmitry, has been working with information technology since the late 90s. In 2011, when Vitalik was only 17 years old, he co-founded Bitcoin magazine. 2 years later, in 2013, he would introduce his own white paper for Ethereum. Ethereum was designed to offer several methods of exchange, including currencies, smart contracts, and NFTs. Sounds a bit similar to another token already on the market at that time, doesn't it? Now, Ethereum wasn't listed on CoinMarketCap until 2015. This is because during 2014, the pre-launch sale was being conducted. It's still unclear how this 19-year-old kid went from being a developer and blog writer to the cover of Time magazine in little under a decade. But what is clear are these couple things. 1. The rest of the world at the time Ethereum was formed was already very invested in the digital renaissance. 2. The way Ethereum held its token offering allowed for many large players to invest in Ethereum privately. Now, the only problem with the second part is that those private investors are not so private anymore. This is being brought to the surface in present day as the developments of the ongoing legal battle between Ripple and the SEC persist. The SEC believes that Ripple held its token sale illegally, which we saw in this edition. That is in fact not true. This continued offensive by the SEC to reveal something about Ripple's past is only proving to reveal actions from their own. Here's what I think is about to happen. When Ripple launched, no one suspected that it had the potential to become Bitcoin's equal, but by 2014, it was becoming very clear that although it was first, Bitcoin was not best or the only option anymore. At the time, the SEC came down on XRP. China was already actively piloting digital currencies all across the Republic. Ripple had and still has several partners in China. In the US, many of the largest financial institutions ran to Ethereum, but soon cracks in the armor would start to show, most notably the gas fee problem. which is the one thing preventing Ethereum from scaling to its full capacity. This is also why the sudden urge to move to proof of stake is on the cards. But Vitalik and all of his investors know that 2.0 is still years away. With that, the US could not see China take the upper hand by somehow adopting XRP before Ethereum was ready. So, in order to suppress the value and the attention on XRP, you send one of your biggest dogs in the yard to dig up some dirt on it and delay market progression until the time is right. That's just my opinion though. But here we are in 2022, and the last decade has seen the foundations laid for the digital economy to flourish. Its players are already in position and the events are underway that will sway the masses into adopting this new normal. But what comes next? Well, for starters, the transition to the ISO payment system is set to go live this November. This transition will last from November 2022 until November 2025, when all financial institutions of the world must be on the standard. In 2023, the United States FedNow service will go live, and the next step after that is a US CBDC by 2024. The EU will follow, and then Brazil, India, Australia, and all the nations of the world will have followed China right into 2030. What does that future look like? I have some ideas, but we'll save that for part 3. In the meantime, if you enjoyed this content, make sure you check out the full video on the ISO checklist. Get prepared for this transition. And guys, like I always tell you, if the money is digital, so is the hustle. I'll see y'all in the next one.